Boy, do we have a juicy one on our hands. This latest rumor is so juicy that when I squeezed it, orange juice came out. We've all heard that Panasonic is making a full-frame camera. Nobody's willing to leak any information, but we have some secret side shit happening here that has revealed something special about the sensor that could destroy Sony and its children for the next 3 generations.
Samsung, you fed me a piece of cake and you took it away before I was finished. Why'd you do it?
First of all, what's the point of having a blurry background when there's nothing in the goddamn background to blur out? Oh, the fan, oh, look how magical that looks. What is this shit? That's the corner of my bed? Yeah, great. Ooh, don't get too inspired now. I bunched up the blanket so it's blurry. You're so inspired right now. So let's face it, Sony are basically our Egyptian overlords, and we're the slave builders of the pyramids, and they control us. And they have the best technology. They can like zap lambs with healing love powers, and then lambs will lick you. And they can do whatever they want. We have some companies trying to stand up to Sony, trying to overthrow their leadership. Little Nikon's like, Z6, yeah, ow, ow. Sony a7 III just zaps it down. It's like, we already did that, and better. You have nothing that we don't. Bitch slapped. And then Canon comes out and they're like, we made a camera. It's got a flippy screen. Doesn't have anything else, but it's got this screen. Look at that. You see that? How it does that? Basically, Sony's in control. They're the only ones making respectable cameras here. They're putting everything in. They're trying to make a name for themselves, and they have. I'm not even a Sony fanboy. I just see it. I can see their dominance. It's like they're the ones who get it mostly. Mostly. They don't get that. It's $3.99, that hinge, Sony. You can get it at Zeller's. The store went out of business, but you can still get their hinges if you call them. Canon can't defeat Sony because they cripple themselves and then try to pick a fight. They like break one of their arms and they're like, you want to go? And then they get punched out. Nikon, they just like, they didn't have the money to train properly. So like, they come into the battle out of shape and they're just like exhausted by the time the round starts. They get knocked out. Panasonic is like 3 feet tall, and Sony's a big 6'5" black guy who's been working out, and little Timmy, Panasonic Timmy over here is just like, he has heart. He has heart. He has that heart. But what's he gonna do? He's just punching his knees. Doesn't even hurt. But there's one company lurking in the shadows that is, in my opinion, superior to Sony, and they know this. They could dominate the camera industry if they wanted to, but they made a graceful exit. They looked at the forecast, the financial forecast, and they saw, you know what? The money's not in the cameras. Y'all go waste your time with those cameras. We'll concentrate on the smartphones and the TVs. I'm talking about Samsung. Everything Sony makes, Samsung does a little better. In my opinion, if you look at the TVs, nobody's really going for the Sony TVs. It's all about the Samsung. Although I'm basing this on like 12 years ago when I was looking for my first LCD TV, and Samsung was slightly better at the time. But if you look objectively, it's like the Samsung TVs are better than the Sonys. The Samsung smartphones, nobody has a Sony smartphone. Are you watching this on a Sony smartphone? I swear to God, I will slap it out of your hand so fast you won't even blink. You either got a Samsung or an iPhone or some weird Chinese ripoff made in Hungary by elves. That's what the facts. Back in the day when I was debating on upgrading my camera from my little Sony WX350, little point and shoot with a zoom, I wanted a bigger sensor, and I was like thinking the G7X Canon or the Samsung NX500 just came out at that time. And I was like, that's a pretty damn good camera. Flip up screen, APS-C sensor, good autofocus. It didn't have a mic jack though. And stabilization wasn't really a thing back then, but that's a nice little vlogging camera. For this kind of video, we'd be looking pretty sweet right now. And then they came out with that NX1, and it blew people away. People were just like, this is what? It's like Samsung threw everything they had at the camera, and they know how to do it. They know how to make really good cameras, but they saw it. They're a smart company, and they know that people are using their smartphones more than these big-ass cameras. Nobody wants to haul this around. So they backed out of the camera scene, not because their cameras sucked. Their cameras were amazing, but they just knew there was better money elsewhere. So they focused their attention on the smartphones and stuff, but they still make sensors. On comes our rumor. Samsung is producing large quantities of full-frame sensors. Like they filled an order and they are producing them in bulk. They built a full-frame sensor in meaningful quantity. Not just like this sample, engineering samples. This is like, this is for production on a camera, an upcoming Panasonic full-frame camera? Can you believe that? I think, was that transition cool? I did this on both shots and then I mixed them. Didn't work. Shit. If this order is for Panasonic's full-frame camera, just look out, because then we have something here. Samsung can compete with Sony sensors. Their technology is on par or more advanced. They're super demon aliens. Like, they know what they're doing. They have the dual pixel autofocus in their phones. They're gonna make a full-frame dual pixel autofocus sensor. Panasonic's gonna buy it. Sony makes all the sensors for all the other camera companies. So up until now, it's like Nikon, Canon, they're both using Sony sensors trying to beat a Sony camera at its own game. Meanwhile, Sony is hiding their best technology where they're just pretending like, I don't know how to make that, what? Phase detection, how do you spell that? You want us to do what? I don't, like they're hiding their best shit. So you can't beat Sony with Sony technology, their crumbs, their droppings. But if Samsung comes out, puts their best foot forward, teams up with Panasonic, what? Panasonic's technology with a Samsung-based sensor? You got something. You got a Sony killer on your hands. Don't kill. Blood will be on your hands. Oh my god, my hand is dripping in blood. So that has me intrigued now, because if Panasonic was making the sensor, they might, we got depth from deflection autofocus that deflects it away from whatever you want to focus on. We don't know. You wanted to focus on something? I thought you wanted to deflect the focus off to the next object, because that's how it works. Why does it feel like I'm out of focus here? Right here, I'm out. I leaned back. Right here, we're back in. Shit. That wouldn't happen on a Samsung sensor. I'm telling you, Samsung needs to get back in the game, and if it's just making sensors, Sony has a little competition on their hands. We got something here. Two companies, those could be the two tech giants going back and forth. And we got Samsung sensors. It would be nice if Samsung would come out with their own cameras again with like smartphone technology in the screen, usability. I think they could make a comeback, but they probably see it. It's like, no, smartphones is the way of the future. Probably is for most people, but for freaks like us that want to make videos of ourselves talking shit to companies that are better than us out of spite, then let us do that on a nice camera. So some pretty exciting times ahead this month. We should know by the end of September, Photokina, they're flying me out. No, they're not. Nobody's flying me anywhere. They're gonna fly a ham sandwich over to me. It's gonna be rotten in the mail. That's all I get. I will eat it, just to spite you. But we'll see what the Panasonic full-frame specs are. There is that Zeiss full-frame fixed lens camera, which I'm not super excited about, but a 35mm f2, I could work with it. If it has a flippy screen and good autofocus, I would consider that. And IBIS, I would consider it. You never know. So I think that's it for announcements. Things to be looking forward for, too. I don't think Canon's going to announce anything like their more professional mirrorless camera, because we know what they just announced was the bottom feeder end in the ocean, like jellyfish are wiggling over it. It's a stingray. We want the shark. We want that great white shark. And it better not be $8,000. What are you, Leica? I want just my ear in focus like usual, like the good old days. How you doing? You know what? I'll fully admit this. Flippy screens aren't good enough. They're not big enough to really accurately gauge the focus. If I'm being honest with you, I'd rather have a full monitor on the thing. So that kind of destroys 11 of the past 12 videos I've made, but whatever. We live and learn. Gotta live and then learn, they say. But yeah, it's really annoying. It's so annoying right now. If I had autofocus, I wouldn't have to worry about it, but I don't. It's Panasonic. But there's no Samsung sensor inside, so there's hope. But on Sony cameras, for some reason, they disable face detection autofocus when you have an external monitor plugged in, and it's like, that was the whole point. You would only need one of those to film yourself. If you're filming someone else, the screen's close enough, you don't really need a big monitor. But if you're back here, you need that. So Sony, what the hell's your problem? The answer could be a Nikon. That Nikon with a full monitor, but their lenses suck. I'm rambling, I realize that. But do you think Samsung is gonna sell their sensors to Panasonic, forming the love connection of the century? Camera couple. They're so hot right now. I'm telling you, if Panasonic and Samsung team up, they can make a better camera than Sony. I know they can. And it's gonna happen in 14 days, maybe. So get ready and comment down below. If you want to support me, the music you hear I make and sell, or you can support me on Patreon. Links are everywhere. Or affiliate links down below. Or subscribe to my Vegetable Police YouTube channel. How you doing? And we're done here. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.